and Gavri Yoshafat Zvoach Ovdei Achol. And so maybe it's the people of Yoshafat weren't righteous, and we can say that what the people of Achav slaughtered, who were wicked, that's what Zvoach Gavri de Achav Achol Gavri de Yoshafat. What the wicked people of Achav slaughtered, that's what the wicked people of Yoshafat ate. And Zvoach Ovaja, and what Ovaja, the righteous servants of Achav, slaughtered, Achol Yoshafat, that's what Yoshafat ate. So the man says, Lo Sakataitos, you can't think to say that, because if Yoshafat was righteous, all of his people were righteous. The verse says, Moshel, Midim Moshel, Makshiv al Dvar Sheker, Kol Mishars of Rishayim. Since the verse says, when there's a ruler who follows falsehood, all of his people are wicked, that implies Al Dvar Emes, a ruler who follows true things, Mishars of Tzadikim. His followers are righteous, and therefore, Yehoshafat's people were also righteous, and they would only eat that which was kosher. So again, Rav Anan is proving from the fact that Achav and his people, all wicked, prepared a meal, and Yehoshaphat and his people, all righteous, participated in that meal. That proves that even though a wicked Jew, a Jew worshipping idols, is doing the slaughtering, you can eat from his slaughtering. So the says, no, maybe if Achav's people are wicked, what they slaughter is eaten by Achav and his people. And Zvoach Gavri Yoshafat, and what was slaughtered by Yehoshaphat and his people was eaten by Yehoshaphat and his people. So my answer is now starting today's daf, Hey Amud Aleph. Lo hava miflig nafshe mine. Yehoshaphat did not separate himself from Achav at all. At this meal, whatever Achav prepared, Yehoshaphat ate. Minala, and someone says, how do you know that? How do you know that Yehoshaphat and Achav were totally united during this meal? Even if you're going to tell me because the verse says kamoni kamocha, like me, like you, kami kamecha, like my nation, like your nation, elameata. So then when the verse then goes on to say kisusi kisusecha, like my horse, like your horse, hachanami, does it mean that in terms they're eating the same things or the same levels of kashrus? No. What does it mean? Kisusi kisusecha means that we're going to war together, and therefore whatever's going to happen to your horses will happen to my horses. Because I'm going to put my people in as much danger as you put your people in. So Hachanami, when he says kamoni kamocha, I'm like you, it means madahavi alach, whatever will be with you, v'ilavei, and with your people, imach tavi alai v'ilavei imach. Whatever is going to be with you and your people, that's what's going to be with me and my people, because we're going to go to war together. So how do you know that Yehoshaphat really was eating from Achav's stuff? Maybe Yehoshaphat's people were slaughtering for him, and Achav's people were slaughtering for him. The source is from the following. The verse says, Melech Yisrael v'Yehoshaphat, Melech Yehuda, king of Israel, Achav, and Yehoshaphat, king of Yehuda. Yoshvim Ishal Kis'o, each were sitting on his throne. Melubashim begadim, they were wearing garments. Begoren, in the storage area of the grain. Pesach Shar Shomron, at the gate, at the opening of the gate to the city Shomron. My Goren, what does it mean at the storage area of the grain? Ilem Goren Mamishif, it's literally the place where they would thresh the grain. Atushar Shomron, Goren Hava. Are we going to say that the gate of the city Shomron, that's where they prepare the grain? Ella Ki Goren, it means it was a place like a Goren. In other words, it was a place of a half circle. That is namely a reference to the Sanhedrin. The times we learned Sanhedrin Haisa Kachatzi Goren Agula, Kideshi Roin. Zed, that the Sanhedrin were sitting in a half circle so that they could all see each other. And that's what's going on here. Yehoshaphat is sitting with Achav and their counselors in a half circle. They're all a single cabinet. They're all united. They're all watching each other. So in such a setting where they're all trying to be friendly, you think Yehoshaphat says, no, I'm sorry, my food's different from your food. I'm not going to eat your food. That's not what's going on. Yehoshaphat is eating Achav's food. So if Yehoshaphat's eating Achav's food, and we know Achav is an idol worshiper, what do we see? We see even if somebody's an idol worshiper, but if he's a Jew, and he says he keeps kosher, we could still rely on him in terms of kosher. We don't rely on him in terms of idol worship, but we would rely on him in terms of kosher.
He's a wicked person, Rabbi.
Very wicked man. Achav's the worst of the worst.
Rabbi, this will not fly to them.
Well, the Gemara is going to reject it. We'll see.
I'd rather eat the really idol worshiper from when they're born, their food, rather than a Jew that becomes an idol worshiper.
Right? It's true. It's very terrible. This Jew became an idol worshiper. So this is again the view of Rav Anan in the name of Shmuel. We're going to see on the bottom of the page. You can even skip down to the very last line. The Gemara says, "To Yufta de Ravanan to Yufta." Ravanan is disproven. He is disproven. But at this point, the Gemara is still thinking this. Yeah,
I just wanted to mention that the connection between them was much greater than this.
They were mechutanim.
Yeah, Achav's daughter married Yoshafat's son. It ended up really bad. I mean, she ended up killing the whole family of Melechizedek, but it was a really strong connection.
That's right. For Shalom Bayit.
Maybe.
That's not Shalom Bayit. That's Achuzim Bayit.
So now the Gemara says, Lema, let's suggest let's suggest that there is a proof to this view. Perhaps we can suggest that there's a proof to this view that a Jew who worships idols, you can still eat from his slaughtering. The verse says about Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hanavi turned to God. He was upset about the misbehavior of Achav, and so he demands of God that there be no rain. And for 3 years there was no rain, so no one had what to eat. What did Eliyahu Hanavi himself eat? So the verse says, "Ha'orvim mevi'im lo lechem u'basar baboker." The ravens would bring him bread and meat in the morning, v'lechem u'basar ba'erev, and bread and meat in the evening. But Rav Yehuda said, Rav, where are the ravens bringing food from? Where are they bringing meat from? They're bringing it from Achav's kitchen, Achav's slaughterhouse. Achav had a slaughterhouse. There he was slaughtering meat. He's the king. He's not suffering when everybody else is suffering. So the ravens were stealing some of that meat, bringing that meat to Eliyahu, and Eliyahu was eating it. 1 second, how can Eliyahu eat it? It's from Achav's slaughterhouse. Achav's an idol worshiper. So you see, even though he's an idol worshiper, even though he's a Meshumit, he's a Christian, but he eats kosher. And he eats kosher. We rely on his kosher. Even Eliyahu Hanavi is relying on his kosher. So Gemara says, that's different. Al Pia Dibur Shani. Maybe that's where Hashem told him. The verse says, I commanded the ravens to feed you. So when Hashem commands, it's a rasha. Hashem can command you even to do avodah zarah. Hashem can command a rasha, temporary suspension of a law. Hashem told Eliyahu Hanavi he could go and offer sacrifices on Har Carmel in Haifa, even though it's outside of Yerushalayim, and there's a prohibition of shchutei chutz. That's different. It's God's command. That doesn't show that you can eat normally from a Jew who's worshiping idols. So, okay, now the Gemara goes into this verse. Again, the verse says, the Orvim would bring to him bread and meat in the morning and bread and meat in the evening. My Orvim, who are the Orvim? Amar Ravina says, Orvim Mamish, ravens, 2 ravens. Amar Rav Ada bar Minyumi. Rav Ada bar Minyumi said to Ravina, why do you say it's birds? Dilma Trey Gavri, maybe it was people. Gavu Shmayu Orvim. Their names are Raven. And 2 ravens. 2 Orvim are the 2 guys named Orev. Miloksiv, and doesn't the verse say, Vayahargu es Orev bitsur, Orev, ve'es ze'ev. They killed Orev in Sur Orev, and they killed Zev. So you see that there are people named for wolves, Zev, and there are people named for ravens. A raven's not a kosher animal, a wolf's not a kosher animal, but there are people named Zev, and there are people named Orev, people named Raven. Amar Les, Ravina said, 1 second, it's Rami Milsa the Tar. Does it make sense you can have 2 people named Orev? Okay, maybe 1 guy will be named Orev. But 2 people named Orev? It says, still, the Dilma Hashem Yikoman. You see there's this place called Sur Orev. Maybe there were 2 people called Orvim because they both came from Sur Orev. Milok Siv, don't we have a verse? V'aram Yatzu Gdudim. Aram went out in battalions, Vayishbu Meretz Yisrael Na'araktana. And they took captive from the land of Israel a na'ara, a teenager, ktana, a minor. So 1 second, Kashan, so you have a contradiction here. Kari la na'ara, it says she's a teenager. Kari la ktana, now it says she's a minor. Amra Padas explained, ktana, really she was a minor, but Demin Na'oran, she was a place from Na'oran, that's what she's called, na'ara. She's not really a teenager. She's a woman from Na'oran, that's what she's called, na'ara. So therefore here, maybe these Orvim are people from this place, Sur Orev. Imkain, if so, it should be Orviyim. Why does it say Orvim? With not 2 yuds, but 1 yud. Orvim means 2 ravens. Says the Gemara, okay, so it's not a proof. Again, we tried to prove Rav Anan correct. from the fact that Eliyahu Hanavi, according to Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, was eating from Achav's kitchen. So you see that a mumar la'avodah zara, even so, is still reliable for kashrus. He says, no, there it was different. God told him to do so. God told him to do so. He could do it. Maybe it's really not reliable for kashrus. All right, Leva Misayele. Maybe this is a proof to the idea of Rav Anan in the name of Shmuel. We learned in a brisa, Hakol shochten. Everyone can slaughter lechatchila. Va'afilu kuti, even a Samaritan. Afilu arel, even someone uncircumcised. Afilu Yisrael mumar, and even a Jew who's not religious, who's a rebel, who doesn't keep the laws of the Torah. Hi arel hechidami. What's this case of an uncircumcised Jew? If it's because he couldn't get a circumcision, because it would have been dangerous for him, his brothers died from their circumcision. 1 second, that's a great Jew. That's a fine Jew. He's 100%. He did everything right. Of course, we could eat from his food. So what must it be? We're talking about a Jew who is rebelling and refusing to circumcise himself. He's a Jew, doesn't keep the law of bris milah. And even though he doesn't keep the law of bris milah, fine, you can eat from his shchita. Ema seifa, but then it goes on and says, Afilu Yisrael mumar. Not only a Jew who doesn't circumcise himself, even a Jew who's a rebel, who doesn't keep mitzvos. Heichidami, now which mitzvos is he not keeping? If he's a rebel for, Shabbos, a rebel for Shatnez, a rebel for mezuzah, he doesn't do that. So that's already the same thing as a rebel for lack of bris milah. You just said that a rebel who doesn't do brit milah is still accepted for kosher. So why would brit milah be any different from any other mitzvah of the Torah? So he would be accepted. Elalav. So what's being added by saying mumar? It means mumar la'avodas kochavim. It means a rebel to worship idols. Kid Rav Anan, like the view of Rav Anan. So Gemara says, "Lo, this price is not a proof." Lo, I could tell you mumar la'avodas kochavim. Lo, a mumar for avodah zara cannot do shchita. We don't rely on his shchita. Because it's been taught by the master, chamur avodas kochavim. Very severe is idol worship. Anyone who believes in idol worship is rejecting the whole Torah. He doesn't believe in the one God. And we don't even want to say that. So we say in the opposite. We say, kol hakofer bo, anyone who rejects it, kimodu b'chol haTorah kula, is one who is admitting to the whole Torah. In other words, anyone who accepts idol worship is rejecting the whole Torah. Ella, so what does it mean when it says mumar? Mumar la'oso davar. He's a rebel to eat non-kosher. Even though he's a rebel to eat non-kosher, you can still eat from his slaughtering, because he's only eating the non-kosher because it's more convenient and it's more, appetizing to him. But if he'd have kosher food as good as the non-kosher, he would only eat the kosher. Kidder Rava, like the view of Rava, who said that when you have a mumar l'teyavon, a person who doesn't control himself, and that's why he's eating non-kosher, you can give him a knife that you checked, and he can slaughter. You can rely on his slaughtering. So till now, we've been going with the view, we've been building up to try to support this view, the view of Rav Anan in the name of Shmuel, that a Jew who converts to Christianity or worships idols is still accepted in regards to kashrus. And now the Gemara rejects it. Meisvel challenge Rav Anan. Again, Rav Anan is an Amora. He's quoting Shmuel, who is an Amora. We have a brisa in regards to bringing karbanos. The verse says, Adam ki yakriv mikem karban la'Hashem min ha'be'ema. So we read like this, Mikam, from you, a man who will bring from you a karban to Hashem. V'lo kulchem, not all of you can bring karbanos. L'hotzi es ha'mumar, to say that a person who's always violating a sin, he cannot bring karbanos. Mikam, from you. Bachem chilakti, amongst you, I make a distinction. If there's a Jew who violates sins, he can't bring a karban. However, v'lo ba'umos, but a non-Jew, we can accept karbanos from all the non-Jews, whether they keep mitzvahs or they don't. Min ha'be'ema, then the verse says, from the animals, lavi b'nei adam shedomim le'be'ema. We do accept karbanos from Jews, from people who are like animals. In other words, that they don't keep mitzvahs. Mikan amru, from here our sages said, mekablim karbanos miposhe Yisrael. We do accept sacrifices from those Jews who deliberately violate sins, so that they will repent. Chutz min ha'mumar. An exception to this is a rebel, who pours wine to idols, a rebel who worships idols, someone who publicly violates Shabbos. So someone who publicly violates Shabbos is publicly declaring that God didn't create the world in 6 days and rest on the seventh. So if he's publicly violating Shabbos, we don't accept his karban. So it's like this brisa doesn't make much sense. Hagufa kasha. The brisa itself seems to contradict each other. Amrit begins by saying mikem, a man from you who will bring a sacrifice. To tell you, v'lo kolchem, not all of you can bring sacrifices. Lohotzi es hamumer, to exclude a rebel who doesn't keep mitzvos, we don't accept his sacrifices. But then it says, Makabel karbanos miposhi Yisrael. We do accept karbanos from Jewish sinners. So Gemara said, it's lo kasha, it's not a contradiction. Reisha, when we say we don't accept the karban of a rebel, a rebel who's rebelling against all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Mitziyasa, when it says that we accept the karban of a rebel, is l'davar echad, when he's only a rebel for one thing. He doesn't keep, lashon hara. He doesn't keep tzitzis. But other things he does. So then we do accept his karban. Amos Seifa, now read the end of the brisa, chutz min hamumar, except for someone who's a rebel to idol worship, like he pours wine in front of the idols, or machal shabbos b'fares, for someone who desecrates Shabbos in public. So 1 second, what type of a guy is he? If he's violating everything, that's what we said in the beginning. If he's only doing one thing, so kashim mitziyasa. If he's just doing idol worship, so then we should be accepting his karbanos, just like we say a guy who just does lashon hara, we do accept his karbanos. Else, you have to say there's a difference between averos. Hachikam is what it's saying. Except for a rebel to pour the wine, and to desecrate Shabbos in public, that they are considered as if they're not Jews. Also, apparently, the Bryce is telling you, if someone is a rebel for one mitzvah, okay, we still accept him as a Jew in regards to other mitzvahs. But if someone's a rebel in regards to idol worship or violating Shabbos in public, he's considered a rebel in regards to all of the Torah, and therefore he's considered like a non-Jew. If he's considered like a non-Jew, we can't accept his shchita. To Yufta Ravanan, this disproves the view of Ravanan. To Yufta, he is disproven and rejected. Now, I have to say here a very, very important point, very shocking point. There was a very great rabbi, Rav Yaakov Ettlinger. He was a rabbi in Altona, Germany. He was the teacher of Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, and he wrote an important commentary to the Gemara called Aruch Laner, and he has an important responsa called Shut Binyan Tzion. So in Shut Binyan Tzion HaChadasha, Siman Chav Gimel, Rav Yaakov Ettlinger says that he thinks that this Gemara may not apply. He said, I'm not 100% sure about this, but this he suggests as a proposal. This Gemara may not apply in our days. And this is his argument. He said that the Gemara says that someone who violates Shabbos in public is mumar l'chol Torah kula, is a rebel to the entirety of the Torah. What's the idea? Because Shabbos is really a declaration of faith. Why would we stop working on the seventh day? Everybody else is working on the seventh day. Why would we give ourselves a competitive disadvantage? Because God made the world in 6 days and he rested on the seventh day. So God made the world in 6 days, rested on the seventh. When we also rest on the seventh, we're showing that we believe in the creation narrative. We believe in the Torah as given by God and as what it says in the Torah. He said, when the Gemara says, Shabbos that's someone who says, I don't. I'm violating Shabbos. I don't believe that God rested on the seventh day. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the Torah. And he's just desecrating Shabbos. He said, but nowadays, we have a strange reality. There are people who come to shul and they'll daven in shul. Now, what do they say in shul? In shul, they're saying that God made the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. They'll come home Friday night. They'll say Kiddush. What is Kiddush? Kiddush is I'm saying that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. Then they're going in the morning and they're opening up their store and they're working in their store on Shabbos. So why should I believe the fact that they're working on their store, that that's what they are, that they're rejecting faith? Maybe really when they say Kiddush, they are expressing faith. And they're working in the store because they're just confused people. They don't understand things. They don't really appreciate things. So therefore he said he thinks that maybe this law doesn't apply nowadays because the people who were working on Shabbos, they were also making Kiddush beforehand. So they did believe in God. And their children, they never knew anything. Their children are, he calls Tinokot Shenishbu. Children that are raised in a Gentile environment, they don't know any better. So they're not rejecting faith, they don't know any better. And therefore he felt that maybe this law didn't apply. So he was asked by a rabbi, and he said, I'm not 100% sure, but I think if a person wants to assume that it doesn't apply, he could assume that. And I saw that Rav Chaim Ozer Grudzinski dealt with a question, a very sad question. In South Africa, there was a woman who was stuck. Her husband was dying, and he had no children, so it was going to be a situation of aguna. She was going to be stuck, needing yibum, and the husband's brother lived all the way in America. They weren't going to be able to do a chalitza. So the rabbi was there. He quickly did a get, and the people who signed in the get were people who had their stores open on Shabbos. Then the man died. So the question was, okay, is this woman now stuck? So Rav Chaim Ozer said, again, these are people, they have their stores open on Shabbos, but they make Kiddush Friday night. And the Aruch LaNer said that if you make Kiddush Friday night, it's not really a rebellion. It's not the same way as it was in the times of the Gemara. Therefore, we could rely on it to save a woman from being stuck and not being able to marry. And Rav Chaim Ozer relied on this Aruch LaNer. So that's a very important Aruch LaNer. Anyway, there's a lot of discussions about this topic for obvious reasons. No, so then even less, because they don't even know what Shabbos is to be rebelling against Shabbos. Exactly. So then also, all the more so that they're not like nothing. But they don't know anything. They're tinoko shenishbu. They don't know anything. They've never been exposed to anything. No, it's the Aruch LaNer and the Chazon Ish.
Isn't this the opinion of...
Holiest of holies.
Isn't this opinion of Rabbi? I think it's very liberal, this Rabbi.
Liberal rabbis.
Rabbi here.
Rav Hanan.
Right, Rabbi? He says as long as you have a Jewish neshama, you could do anything you want. That's what he's saying.
No, he's not saying that. He's saying that in our times, people don't know. People don't know. They don't know. They can't be considered rebels. They don't know anything. They're all ignorant nowadays. Listen, we're learning Gemara, right? There are 2,771 pages in the Shas. How many laws are there on every page? Probably 5 to 10. So they're like 27,000 laws on Shas. The people who don't keep Shabbat in public, they what do they know? They know 3 laws. They know 5 laws. They never even got an education to be rebelling against it. Were they ever exposed to, real tzaddikim, pious people? They don't know anything. It's not like the way it was.
It's better to be muhzar, tinok shenishma, than I know.
Okay.
Implies a lot of leniency, no? On this
They're all holy. They're all holy. Okay. All right. So that completes this topic. The topic of mumar la'avodah zarah. Okay, now going back to the issue, we just quoted this pasuk in regards to karbanos, that not everyone's karban is accepted. So the Gemara says, is this the source? The fact that it says mikem, from you, not everyone? That's how we know that some people's karbanos are not accepted. There's another verse. The verse says about the karban chatas. If one soul will sin by mistake, may amaretz, from the people on the earth, Me'amaretz, from the people, not everybody, pratlamuma, to exclude a rebel, we don't accept his karbanos. It's from a different verse. The verse says, Asher lo ta'asana bishgaga v'ashem. Someone who does a sin that should never be done, he did it by mistake, and he's guilty of doing it. And the next verse is, Oh hodai love chataso asher chataf, and then he'll be informed of his sin. Maybe his karban, he'll bring his karban. That tells you, Hashav miyadiyaso, someone who, if you inform him you're doing something wrong, would stop doing it. Then maybe karban al shugagaso. He's the one who brings a karban for a mistake. Eino shav miyadiyaso, but someone who, even if you inform him, would keep on doing it. Maybe karban al shugagaso. He doesn't bring his karban for a mistake. I mean, we said in the Brisa, my benai, what's the difference between these different tanaim? What's the source? Rav Amnuna explained what the difference would be mumar le'echol chelev. Let's say someone is a rebel, he always eats forbidden fat, but he doesn't eat blood. And then by mistake he eats blood, maybe karban al-adam. Now he wants to bring a karban for the blood. That's the difference. If you say me'ama aretz to exclude a mumar, since he's a mumar, we wouldn't accept his karban. But if you say it's based on Hashav Midiyaso, the only time we don't accept the karban is if he's somebody doing something that he would keep on doing even if he was informed about it. Well, blood he wouldn't keep on doing if he was informed about it, so then we would accept his karban about blood. So now the Gemara says, why do we need all these sources? So chada b'chatas v'chada b'ola. One source is about a chatas, that we don't accept a chatas from a mumar. The other source is about an ola. We don't accept an ola from a mumar. Utzricha, we need to have both sources. Yashmi'inan, if we would have only told you chatas, I would say mishum de kaparu, because it's an atonement. So since it's an atonement, then this mumar, this rebel's doing sins anyway deliberately, so it doesn't need any atonement. He just shouldn't get an atonement. Avul ola, when it comes to bringing an ola, which is a doron, which is just a gift, it's a gift to the king. Maybe we should accept it even from a mummer. That's why we have to have the first pasuk to say that a mummer, mikem, cannot bring an ola. V'yashmin, and if we would have told you the verse about ola, mishum delav chiyuvahu, I would say because that's not an obligation. Since it's no obligation, so we should say we'll reject the offering of a mummer. Avol chatas chiyuvahu, but where he did a sin by mistake and he has an obligation, then we should accept the korban even from a mummer because we want to enable him to keep his obligations. So that's why it's tzricha. That's why you have to tell you two verses. A mummer cannot bring an ola, and a mummer cannot bring a chatas.
What kind of mummer are we talking about there, Rabbi? Just a mummer of everything?
This is a mummer l'davar echad. No, I'm saying a mummer l'kol haTorah kula.
Okay.
I said a mummer l'kol haTorah kula. Okay. So now, asks the Gemara, now based on this verse, which said, earlier we had a brayso that said, Mina behema means that we would accept karbanos from Jewish sinners. So the Gemara says, is that true? Whenever the Torah says animal, is that to say a bad guy, a guy who acts like an animal? Maybe not. Don't we have another verse that says, man and animal, you will save God. These are people that they are very smart, they're very brilliant, and yet they make themselves like animals. They just follow whatever Hashem tells them to do. So Gemara says no. There it says Adam ubehema, man and behema. Here where it just says behema l'chudei, it means a person who is lowly. So Gemara says that's so. Is it whenever we say man and animal means something special about this animal? But it says, or it's a compliment. But the verse says v'zarati Beis Yisrael zera adam v'zera behema. I'm going to plant the Jewish people, both as people and as animals, and that means that Zera Adam, there will be people who will be scholars and people that are going to be behema, not so good. So I said, no, there the verse separates them. Zera Adam l'chud, there will be people planted as people, the Zera behema l'chud, and seed of animals. But when it says Adam ubehema, then the word behema is not a negative, it's actually a compliment. Okay, we got into this whole discussion because we had a problem in the Mishnah. The Mishnah sounds like everybody can shecht as a first choice, and the Mishnah says no. All those who can shecht are only accepted as a second choice. So we had 6 different answers. What's the Mishnah really talking about? The Mishnah might be talking about someone who's impure, or the Mishnah might be talking about a Samaritan, either with a Jew watching him or a Jew coming in and out on him. So that's all assuming that a Samaritan is a Jew, because a non-Jew certainly can't shecht. So it's assuming that a Samaritan is a Jew, but he's not a Jew who's observant, he doesn't keep all the laws that we keep. So one second, is that really accepted? Amar Rav Chanan. Rav Chanan said, Amar Rav Yaakov Bar Yidi, in the name of Rav Yaakov Bar Yidi, Amar Rav Shimon Levi Mishum Bar Kapara, in the name of Bar Kapara. Rabbi Gamliel Bezdino. Rabbi Gamliel and his Bezdin, Nimnu Ashkutas Kuti, they took a vote about the slaughtering of a Samaritan, the Asruha, and they prohibited it. Amalei Reb Zera, Reb Yaakov Bar Idi. So Reb Zera said to Reb Yaakov Bar Idi, Shema lo shama Rebbe, Elo b'shen Yisrael omid al gabav. Maybe Rebbe only heard when you don't have a Jew supervising him. But when there is a Jew supervising him, even after the ruling of Rabbi Gamliel and his Bezdin, we could eat from the slaughtering of a kuti. Amar le, so Rav Yaakov Bar Idi said, back to Reb Zera, Dami Haimer Rabbanan. This rabbi seems like a person who hasn't never learned anything. He doesn't understand anything. If the kuti slaughters without a Jew watching him, do you need me to tell you that it's no good? Of course it's no good. Of course it's no good. Even the Mishnah only permitted when a Jew was watching him. Rabbi Gamliel was adding that even when a Jew is watching him, it's no good. So the Gemara asks, did Reb Zera accept what Rabbi Yaakov told him or not? Says the Gemara, Tashma, come to your proof. Rabbi Nachman, Yitzchak, Rabbi Asi, and he says, Rabbi Yochanan she'achal mishchitas kuti. I saw Rabbi Yochanan eat from the slaughtering done by a Samaritan, either when there was a Jew watching him or that we gave to the kuti to eat, and he ate from it. Rabbi Asi, achal mishchitas kuti. And Rabbi Asi also ate from the slaughtering of a Samaritan. V'tai bar Reb Zera. And Reb Zera was shocked about it. He said, how could they do that? He said, Lo Shmiyalahu, did they not hear the lesson of Rabbi Gamliel? If they would have heard it, they would have accepted it. They would not be eating from what a kuti slaughters. Maybe they did hear the lesson of Rabbi Gamliel. V'lo kiblua, and they just don't accept it. They still think that we can eat from a kuti slaughtering as long as there's no problem of lifnei iver over there. Other pashtul nafshe, and then Reb Zeir resolved it. Makes sense that they did hear the lesson of Rabbi Gamliel, but they don't accept it. Because if you're going to think that they didn't hear it, but if they would have heard it, they would have accepted it. How would God have allowed them to eat non-kosher? Hashem protects the animals of the tzaddikim, that the animals of the tzaddikim only get to eat kosher. Tzaddikim atzman lo kal shekin. Certainly the tzaddikim themselves, Hashem protects them. So if Hashem allowed them to eat the slaughtering of a kuti, must be that they hold that the slaughtering of a kuti is kosher. So the Gemara says, if you're going to think to say, lo kibla minei, that Reb Zeir never accepted the answer of Reb Yaakov. Shalishni le, Reb Zeir should have answered to himself, kan kish Yisrael omid al gabav. Why were they eating from a kuti? Because there was a Jew supervising it. The kan, and when would Rabbi Gamliel not permit it? Kishin Yisrael omid al gabav, when a Jew is not supervising. El olav. So the fact that he didn't give that answer, shmamina kibla minei, we see that ultimately Rabbi Zeir accepted the point of Rav Yaakov, and the Gemara says shmamina, that in fact Rav Zeir did accept the point of Rav Yaakov. My time ago, so why did the rabbis make this decree that Rabbi Gamliel made this decree that you can't eat from what a kuti slaughters, you can't eat from what a Samaritan slaughters? Answers the Gemara. Ki had Reb Shimon Elazar. It's like the story that was with Reb Shimon Elazar. Shadu Rabbi Meir lasu yecham Rabbi Kutai. Rabbi Meir sent him to bring wine from where the kutim lived. Akashcheyahu Sava, there was this old man who was there who met him. Amalei said to him, the verse says, V'samta sakin beloecha, you'll put a knife in your cheek, in Baal Nefesh Ata, if you are a righteous person. In other words, if you're a righteous person, you would put a knife in your cheek, you'd hold yourself back, you wouldn't buy the wine of the kutim. Halach Reb Shimon Elazar v'sipar dvarim l'fnei Rabbi Meir. So Reb Shimon Elazar went back and told Rabbi Meir. The gazer aleim. So Rabbi Meir then said, okay, no one's allowed to drink their wine. So my timer, what's the problem there? Am Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak explained. Musyona matzu lehen berosh har gerizim shayu ovdin osa. The kutzim, even if they had originally converted religiously, they found that on Har Grizim they have a pigeon. They have an idol of a pigeon. And they're worshipping it. And therefore they are mumrim for Avodah Zarah. And since they're mumrim for Avodah Zarah, they have to be treated like non-Jews. And Rabbi Meir l'tamei. Now even though there are many kutim that don't live on Har Grizim, and they don't worship idols, but Rabbi Meir l'tamei the chayish l'miyuta. Rabbi Meir says that when you have a minority, you have to take it into account. Therefore, therefore, since the minority of the wine is literally the wine of a person who worships Avodah Zarah, therefore all the wine is no good because maybe there's some little bit of it. Rabbi Gamliel Bezdino, who said that we extend it from wine all the way to Shchita, Rabbi Meir Svirle, they hold like Rabbi Meir that a minority of the Kutim are idol worshippers. And since the minority are idol worshippers, whatever they shecht is no good. And therefore, we have to extend from them to the majority. The majority also, we can't eat from it. So in conclusion, in terms of the bottom line halacha, after all the discussions yesterday and today, the bottom line halacha is a Jew who's a mummer lo'ovid avodah zarah, a Jew who worships idols, his shchita is no good. And a kuti, his shchita is no good.